So everyone who's in here, feel free to share your webcam if you want, but don't feel like you have to. Just makes it more personal. Good to see your faces. I'm assuming you all know what this is, but I'm just going to reiterate. This is Drawing from Life with Charlotte Belland. And I'll just let Charlotte take it away from here if you're ready.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Trey. My passion is drawing animals. This is my kind of a lifelong goal for me as an artist is to draw as many animals as I possibly can. My day job is I am the chair and professor of animation at the Columbus College of Art and Design, and part of that responsibility is being able to bring in um, different types of drawing experiences. So one of my favorite drawing experiences obviously is to bring in live animal drawing sessions. So we have a lot of relationships with local animal ambassador groups, and obviously with the switch to a lot of online learning, we had to implement a lot of some work with using remote cams and stuff like that. So today's session, what we're going to do is the first hour is practicing. So we're going to practice with the animals that we probably are most closely associated with, so our pets. So we have dogs, cats, and birds for the first hour. So you can see we already have some footage of a lovely Labrador enjoying life right there. And then in the second half, Mrs. Van from Ohio Nature Education is going to join us for an hour of drawing from her bird. So that'll be live drawing from her. So one of the things how I usually draw is someone's got a web or the
I think
fun
you
of
can do it all too. If you
here we
press
go.
that button.
If everyone can mute their audio, that would be fabulous. Classic. I'll go. So thank you. So that's always the fun of a group session. So one of the things that I like to do for when I'm drawing is that I try and make sure that I'm using non-precious paper. So what I mean by that is copy paper or any type of just low fidelity paper. I find that a lot of times that when people are drawing from life, if they're working with a really fancy sketchbook, there is a hesitation that happens that they don't want to destroy that beautiful sketchbook that they invested so heavily in. So I highly recommend just getting a clipboard. The real fun thing is you can get giant clipboards. So you can see this one is a monstrously large clipboard. It's a tabloid size clipboard, or just a regular size clipboard works well too. So because the idea is that if you can just clip the paper on there, then you don't have to worry about if you mess up a drawing, because I think there is an emotional stress that happens from drawing from life because the creature is obviously not going to stop moving. So so that's what I highly recommend. The other thing that I recommend is my favorite place in the world to get pens, and the pens that I primarily use are brush pens. My favorite of all time is a Tombow. That's my favorite because it has a synthetic brush end to it. Another one that I like is the Pentel, and this one has a fiber tip to it. And so I like those because they give me line variation. But the place where I get them from, and I'll put that in the chat, is Jet Pens. So Jet, oh, hi Steve. Say hi to fabulous. Welcome. So Jet Pens is the place I really love to get my supplies. They are a company located in San Jose, California. I found them on multiple trips out to Steve's neck of the woods on the Pacific coast. They are a really nice company. They do They have a really great selection. They have really fast shipping, so I highly recommend them for those. So, and as we're drawing, make sure if you are feel comfortable, obviously sharing your sketches with the hashtag. Let's make sure I have it right. Making Midwest. So hashtag Making Midwest. I've got it in the bottom right-hand corner, hopefully visible for folks. But then also too, if you feel comfortable, share your sketches. I'll be sharing mine, especially during the second half where Mrs. Van will have control of the screen. So the first, and I also have a PDF. So Trey, I'm not sure how I can share a PDF with folks. Is that something that I'm able to do?
Like on the screen, or do you want to send it?
Just send it to folks. Is that something that I'm able to do?
Hmm, that's a good question. You can't put attachments in the chat, can you?
Maybe. Let's see. Let me find
That's a
it.
new thing for me.
What if I just drag it and drop it on the chat? No, that just moved it to.
I heard the move noise.
I know it was like it's like nope, nope. Trying to move it again. Okay. Um,
Yeah, I wonder how to share files on here.
yeah. So maybe that's something that at the end I'll open it just to show folks, and I'll put it on the other screen.
Okay.
We'll
Is
hit
that
open.
something to work along with, or is it something can be viewed at the end?
No, it's just something that can be just as a takeaway.
Oh, okay. We could probably
Yeah.
email it out, I'm assuming.
Okay. Let's do that. Although now I'm not sure where I put it. So and when I moved it, I now, there it is. Nope.
Oh, a
All right.
Dropbox link. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Dropbox. Okay, I will do that. I'll do that while we're doing, although I'd like for you guys to have it. No, oops, I have no idea where I moved it to.
I feel like GoToMeeting should have that feature, sharing a
I
file.
think, yeah, I think so too. This is the file. Um, and just to kind of talk about what the kind of procedure that we're going to do today is that when I'm working with, when I'm drawing animals, there's a method that I like to use because a lot of the work that I do uh, with animation, when you animate the body of an animal, when you animate an animal, you animate the body first. So you make a kind of like a little circle or a circle-ish for the head, and then this kind of shape form that encompasses the neck, the chest, and the spine and the torso. Because that's a lot easier to animate pretty quick and to get the overall motion of the animal. So I found that that's really helpful when I do my gesture drawings. And what I end up doing is there's 3 steps. So the first step is to kind of get that kind of blobular shape that I can mold and move, because when I'm working with this shape, I don't have to worry about it being so specific that, oh, it's a dog or cat. I can get it posed into the right perspective. And then I start to work with some contour lines, which are kind of like a little bit like stripes that tell me, based on how I draw them around the shape, it's going to tell me if the animal is coming towards me or away from me. And then, of course, at the very end, I can add in all the lovely nouns that we are, that distinguish it as being, a dog versus a cat. The other thing on this worksheet is that we've got this idea that sometimes it's better to draw a couple of these smaller, very loose sketches first, and then go back in later and add. Because the one thing that's going to happen with working with this footage is that the animals can be continuously moving. So the problem with that is that as humans, we get really anxious about, oh, I got to look up, I got to look up, I got to look up. But when drawing from life, it's really important to study, to watch your critter, and then look down at your paper and not look up until you get to about the second step. Because if you look back up, your mind's going to see another pose, and it's going to imprint that on your on what you've seen. So it's kind of a weird thing because we're taught in art school, look at the model, draw the model, stare at the model, constantly, but that model usually is sitting in a still pose. Whereas if you're outside or with your pet, they're going to be moving around constantly. So if you keep looking up, you're now taking in a bunch of different information and trying to apply it to one drawing. So that's what this kind of procedure is. And then there's some little fun facts about birds. So I'll make sure to get that copied over here in a second as we get going. So here we've got back inside of on my desktop over here, I've got a video of a lovely, happy Labrador enjoying a romp in the backyard. It's not my dog, but there's obviously a lot of footage online at 4K resolution that you can use. So this lovely animal is moving around and enjoying this lovely stick, and I'm starting to see some poses. So the first pose that I'm gonna work with is probably this pose we see right now, which is the dog chewing. So I'm watching it, I'm watching some of its actions, and now I'm gonna look away and I'm gonna come onto my paper. I'm gonna get my brush, my computer hooks up. And the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna think about, what was that pose? I'm gonna picture it in my mind from what I saw. So I'm gonna start with that idea of that circle for the head. And then, there's a little bit of arch of that neck, and then it's lying down on the ground. So it's gonna have that um, kind of compressed shape. So I'm just getting a very simple shape. I'm thinking about it. So this is the dog. In my mind, the dog has its head pointed down a little bit. It's got its paw up on that branch that it was chewing on, and it's got its mouth wrapped around it. So that means that the animal's facing me. So I'll start adding a few kind of contour lines to say, this is the direction that the animal's facing me. I'm going to start to think about what's the pose of that leg. So it was, he had it kind of up over that branch. So I'm just going to draw a very simple form and just kind of wrap it around. So this gives me that a little bit more information about the foot position. And then of course, obviously it had, it's chewing, it's activated, it's chewing on a stick. So the head's going to be pointed down. So I'm going to have a very simple muzzle shape of just enough information to tell me that this is the direction that the head is pointing. So at this point, this gives me enough information on the pose. So I have my kind of that sphere to lock in the head. I laid out that form of where the body's going to be sitting. And then I've got the direction of the snout, and I've got an indication of the leg. There's not a lot of lines there, and that's super important for this type of drawing, because if we start going back over a line, we're going to waste some energy. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to anchor this. So I've got my overall gesture. Now I'm going to anchor this with some nouns. So and now very conveniently, the video just came back of our lovely dog chewing. So, so I'm going to get some information here, like about the stick. And don't erase. If you make a mistake, that's another reason why not to use that precious paper, because you'll want to erase. So I'm just going to get some indication of the nose and maybe some the eye. Get that nice kind of, they have the dogs have that really kind of meaty lower lip. It's looking down, so the ears are going to be lowered. A little bit of indication for the jowl. And then I'll bring the other foot out, because I kind of like that idea of the other foot being out as it's articulating that stick. And I'll give some indication of the toes. And back up to the mouth. A little bit more of a chomp on it. Little eyelash. So that's about as much as I would do for that drawing. So this gives me enough information that I can, here's the magic of Photoshop, obviously, we would not be able to do that with with a piece of paper, but this gives me just enough information that I can tell that the dog's chewing, it's enjoying that. Oh, and the other thing too that's really nice is obviously it's got a collar on. So at this point, if I'm using a brush pen, obviously on Photoshop I have to increase the brush size. I'm going to use that to kind of indicate which way the dog's head is pointing. And then Labradors, they have that lovely little roll of little fat. So I'll kind of dip the collar in a little bit to give it even more indication that that's where the neck is. So next I'll do is I'll go back. So I've got my first drawing. I'll look back at the The dog happily, there he is chewing his stick again. So I'll kind of wait and just watch. And what I'm looking for is another pose. And so I'm thinking about that circle and about that volume for the neck, the torso, and the spine. I'm just going to watch a little bit for that. As I do that, I'm going to fill in background, make it white. Sorry, is that blocks your view? Oops, I just covered over my dog. That's okay. Okay, so I'm just watching this dog. Oh, there's a good pose. That's a good boy pose. So I got a sitting pose. So I'm gonna think about, I've got that circle for the head, and then I've got that shape where he had his chest out quite a bit. So the circle for the head, the chest is sticking out to get that overall pose. The dog was, looking up, so I might give a little indication that the dog has its nose up in the air. And now I'm going to add some volume. So I want to have it so that the dog's head's in profile, but then its body is kind of turned a little bit, so I can kick out that back leg. And now I'm going to add that nice big shoulder, little feet. And then it's got his back leg tucked up there. And that wonderful Labrador tail. And on the tail, I'm going to have it curl away from me. So I'll just give some lines to give that indication. Make it even more, stick its chest out even more. And at this point, so now that I've got, an overall look, I can look back at my dog to kind of reference how big that forehead is and how lovely that nose is. Its mouth open, so I'm going to over exaggerate that. So it looks up. Nice big ear. And again, if I was using my ink brush, I do a little thicker line for that collar and get some of that fabulous kind of extra neck flap around the around that dog as he looks up, very happy, waiting for that ball to drop. So I'm going to do this again. So I'm going to make a new piece of paper here. So actually, turn these guys off for a second. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to watch it again. So again, I'm looking for another pose. I'm observing my animal. I'm watching that's the nice part about working with animals too, is obviously when you're with them, obviously the joy that brings is really, really nice. It's running around, just watching it. Look at that happy prance. Do a jump. There's a jump. Really happy dog. There he goes, a jump. Look. And that's nice. Like right there, there's a nice one. Like just of the dog just standing. So I'll look away from my footage, and I'll do that same trick again, where I'll make that circle for the head and the volume. And this one's pretty easy because obviously, it was standing, so it was looking up and it was standing. So I'll get that overall shape that has the head, the neck, and the torso. And then I'll come in and get the pose. So they're going to have that big shoulder. And just a very simple indication for the feet. And then I think it was kind of a little bit of a lean towards it. So the back legs were leaning a little bit. And that other leg was kind of tucked behind. Then that signature Labrador tail. And I'm going to give some indication about which way it's facing. So this one was pretty well on its side. I want to just give some volume to it with some contour lines. And then that happy muzzle, maybe this time I'll keep the mouth closed. That nice triangular ear. And then a little collar. And then for feet, one kind of tip I would say for feet is that unless you are down on the ground level with your subject matter, like you're actually literally your head's on the ground, you want to avoid the flat foot. So by flat, I see a lot of people draw feet like that, which is okay if the top part of your drawing shows the actual curve of perspective. But if everything is like that kind of flat-footed look, it kind of deadens the pose, because obviously you can see here, if we're looking at the dog from this angle, the feet are going to have a little bit of a curve to them because it's standing on the ground and you're looking down at the foot. So you just want to kind of avoid that. And then for dog paws, the way I like to finish them out, so they have a little bit of a curve to them when the paw comes down. And the way I like to just finish out a dog paw is I'll give that indication of the middle two toes, which are close together and sticking out the furthest. The side toe on either side, so that's your like your index and your pinky. But the way you delineate the two in the center is you put the two nails really close together and point at each other. And then you put that outside one farther away. And that's a real quick indicator of a dog paw. So I'll do that again. So you have the wrist coming down. It breaks off into a little kind of a mitten shape. You have that first toe, the first two toes, the split. You have the side one, and the two middle ones, you take just a little indication of with your marker, a little harder touch, and make them look a little closer together. And then the one on the side is pushed a little away. So if it's on a front view, the wrist, and then the paw, there's those the front two toes, and then the two side ones. Front two claws, point them towards each other, and then put the other ones on the side. And it gives a quick indication of the little tootsie. Because even if people don't know dog anatomy, when people look at your drawings, they're going to be able to see something doesn't look quite right, right? So something will be off. Okay, so I'm going to watch my subject again. He enjoys that fabulous. Labradors are fun. We work with canines for independence. So those are dogs that are trained, obviously, for people to be able, with disabilities, to be able to live independently. And they bring in, when they are able to, obviously for a drawing session, a basket of puppies. And it is the most wonderful drawing experience possible. So just they dump the puppies out in the center, and there's just, it's like last time they came in, they had 7 puppies from 4 months to 7 months. And it was just the most lovely, velvety eared, fabulous drawing session that we had. It was great. And that's part of the other reason why I like to do those programs, is that it connects our student body with groups that maybe they haven't thought about before, but then also too, you know, after a long day of, or a long week of doing schoolwork, and then you get to come in and not just draw the puppy, but the puppy jumps all over you, or the miniature horse, or, I mean, or penguin, there's all kinds of animals that we bring in. it just brings a smile. So, okay, let's see. Let's just do like an action pose. Oh, there we go. Chasing that ball. There's one where they jump. Oh, well, that's not a very good action pose right there. Come on, buddy. Okay, there we are walking around, chewing on the stick. And this is the hard part because when you're watching your animal, like sometimes you'll want to jump into it, you know, a little too quickly. So you just want to kind of watch, look for emotions. Nice little running pose. This one has a jump. So I'm gonna do like a jump pose. Dogs are just great. There we go. Okay. So when a dog does a big jump pose, so I'm gonna look away from my footage and I'm gonna just do another layer. So I'm gonna draw this one a little bit more dynamic. So you have that big kind of upward jump, you know, it's jumping upward, right? It's doing a big jump. So if I'm gonna do that big jump, there's gonna be a long line that goes all the way through down to its tail. So that's a big, big jump upwards. Have that volume of the chest sticking out because it's lifting its body up. And it's jumping. I'm gonna make mine jumping away from us. I'm getting some indication it's jumping away. So the big jump upward. So once I get that overall motion, I mean, I know that when the dog is, you know, it's going to have some volume on the shoulder, but for drawing purposes, having that really nice, long, strong line just gives the drawing more oomph, gives it more action. So try not to look at my footage. I'm going to give an indication of like the little legs, obviously up in the air. I'll show you a trick for drawing the underside of the paws. I'm going to wrap that around. And then a big, you know, Labrador belly and those big Labrador legs. I'm going to plant those feet with a round shape. That tail, have that kind of classic Labrador. And if, like for example, like in this one, obviously I had the line for the tail was probably a little too long. No problem. You just leave it there. Not a problem. This is non-precious paper. We're just working with it. And I heard a little noise, Trey, but I don't know. Doesn't look like a what that was. Okay.
Yeah, I think someone else just popped out.
Okay. So then, like to get that kind of back leg anchored in, I'm going to give it the same kind of shape. And then because the dog's jumping up, we're probably going to see the underside of the paws. So one thing that I like to do to drawing paw pads is use that harder pressure with a little bit. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger. And what I'll do is obviously a dog's paw. It looks like that. So remember, it's got the two toes forward and the two toes on either side. Then you've got the nails that don't retract. So when I do a paw in the side view, and I'll make this a little bit larger, I like to start by drawing that first. So that's you know, that paw pad first, and then I'll extend out two more darker lines like that, and then just tuck another one on the side of the line. So do that again. I draw that first toe because remember it's inside the paw, and then I draw the second, the third, and then the last one. I just kind of tuck it on top of the line, and then you make a little round for the center of the pad, and then give it Mickey Mouse ears. If you want, you can add in. So I use that a lot when I draw that underside of the paw, and you can see it's not it's not super specific, but it's just enough information that my viewers know what I'm, or my the people looking at my art know what that paw is. So when I come over to this guy, you'll see that same technique, except this time I draw a little lighter pen. So the first toe, second, third, fourth, and I suddenly get that little pause if he's kicking it out to the side. And do this little, and there's that jump. Those little ears up. So a little bit of a jump, a little bit on the pause. Okay, so now what I like to do, so we've got uh, obviously access to dogs. You usually can see them. And if you don't have one, there's obviously plenty of good video online. Hopefully some of you have neighbors and friends that walk the dogs and can share dogs with you. But then obviously another common animal are cats. So we're going to switch over to, let's say bye-bye to the beautiful Labrador. And then we're going to say hello to these really interesting cats. And so this is this is footage that I found off of YouTube. I just obviously searched. Let's see, make sure it loops. Loop. So these two cats, they have their own YouTube channel. They have their own Instagram. They usually, the reason why I picked this particular footage is that there's lots of points where the two cats pause. They obviously are having some kind of a disagreement, which makes for a really good, it's really good interactive opportunities. But they're obviously working something out. But again, the reason why I picked this one, it's like 4K, so I can really see good quality. Two, the cats are focused on each other, so there's not too much movement. And the third one, which is that I really love, is on this black and white cat. I love how much black is on the cat. So when I use my brush pens, I try and find subjects that have that opportunity to make that large of a volume. So, and then obviously a fun thing about cats too is that they're pretty much like 100% liquid. So the only part of them that's very rigid is the spot right behind their shoulder blades and the kind of where their rib cage is. That's pretty much it. That's like the only spot that if you were to anchor a cat and keep it really rigid, besides the top of their skull, they're basically liquid. So, okay, so look at that orange cat. That orange cat's like, I don't know, man. So I've got that in my head. I got my liquid cat in my head. And I'm gonna use that same technique where I'll use that circle for the head, and it had a nice lean to it. I'm gonna overdo that lean. So this is capturing that it's angry. It's got that really hard lean to it. And I just got that nice big circle for the head. I've got the chest puffed out just a little bit. So it's obviously exaggerated. So once I get that overall look, I'm gonna start to flesh in where I want to have the legs. So it's pretty much so funny. It's kind of on this almost that same pose, but it had that big lean to it. My cat's have a little bit longer legs than the original. I'm really pushing that pose. So I got my legs on there. I had its little foot that tucked under. It's got a really big lean on it. And then it had, its ears back. So I'm going to overemphasize the ear. And one thing to keep in mind with ears is that you want to make sure you don't do parallels with ears, because then it looks kind of like horns. You want to think about the fact that there's going to be a little bit of a curve to that ear because the ears are not set parallel across the head. There's obviously that curve, almost like a headband. And then for cats, for their eyes, obviously this cat's not having a great day. So I'm going to keep that kind of really thin opened eyes, or thin closed eyes, sorry. Get a little indication of the nose, that face. Cats, I always like to add a little bit of almost like a little teardrop behind their eye, because most of them have some kind of a marking that comes off and it always goes down. Now this one, the proportion got a little out of whack, and that's okay. That's why we have, non-precious paper, because then, if this was my piece of paper, I can just move on to another one. So I'm going to move over here because we want to keep all of our challenges. So I'm going to try that again, but this time I'm going to try it maybe where it has more of that kind of hooked pose to it, where I saw a pose where the cat was looking kind of over his or her shoulder. So non-precious paper, I can start again, and it has that hook of the head, and then that arched back. The indication of the neck. So I've got another pose I'm going to try and do with this. So there's that the curve of the head, curve of the neck, and then I'm going to think about the fact that the cat's got a push to it, so it's pushing with that front leg again, telling that other cat to stay away. And I've made it very, the cat is pretty thick, so I might just use that line as part of the other leg. That way it's not too thick. And this time I'm going to make the cat's face a little bit lower, a little bit more angry. Pat in the bed. An indication of the tail coming off. And for cat feet, whereas on a dog, obviously the nails are not, they can't retract the nails. So on a cat, obviously they have their little mittens that they walk around on. You want to be careful about, if I add too much detail, let's say for example, I start to add like every single line on that foot, you can see how it starts to get a little bit it's too much. So you can use a little bit of detail, a really thin line, like just to give it a little bit of information. I mean, unless the cat is like, physically, it's actually, contracting its claws, and which I'm sure is happening in this shot. So I see another good pose there on the black cat, or the black and white cat. So I'm gonna draw that one. All of these cats are gonna look angry. And this time the ears are, so I'm thinking about that kind of that headband on the cat's head, and the fact that this cat, I'm making it look down. The other cat. And I think this one's the instigator. Just giving a little bit, and my viewers know which way this cat's facing. So let's do more. So watching these poses. And there's a real kind of classic cat pose that you see a couple times inside this shot where the cat, again, the torso or the rib cage is the only part that is really, really solid. So it's kind of a classic cat pose, which is, this is a side view. So you have the head that comes off. You have that rigid part, so that's that rigid part of the body. And then they have the liquid. Like this is like a real common, so this is the rigid part, and then everything else is liquid, and just kind of just make the tail wrap around. You use concentric circles to tell us which way the tail is going. They usually hide their foot underneath their ample amount of skin on the side of their bodies. And then they have their shoulders. A little bit of the feet. And then maybe the cat's looking away. Cheekbone, nose, muzzle, mouth. It's kind of like a classic spot, a classic pose for a cat. Those poor cats. So, so cats obviously, so same kind of scenario. You can use, as the dog, you can use the circle, and like let's say the cat, cats always come up to us, right? And they want to say hello. So you can use this method of the circle and that shape for the torso pretty quick to get an indication. Let's say if this cat was like walking towards us and trying to get our attention. I'm not saying that's what happened in the video, but using this type of shape will let you be able to pose that animal pretty quickly. So I want to move on to the next, the third critter that is most often a pet, which is a bird, because that'll lead us into what we're going to be working with Mrs. Van. Let me close out of these guys. And we're going to bring up super cute little, these guys are pretty noisy. There we go. Look at that cuteness. So let me bring back this. This is the tutorial that I'll send while we are working with Mrs. Van. One thing about, so we have to have a little talk about the birds and the knees. Okay, so the birds do not have backwards facing knees, as much as we will take students to the Columbus Zoo Aquarium and we'll go up to the flamingos and you'll hear guests say, look at the backwards facing knees. And of course, everyone in our group, we've trained them to properly educate folks about the birds and the knees, which is that they don't have backwards facing knees. What we're mostly seeing on a bird is we're basically seeing it's the ankle and the foot. That's the majority of what we'll see. And you'll see that today with Mrs. Van's birds as well. And a lot of that leg is built up underneath the floof of the body. So we don't see it unless it's a really, really big bird like an ostrich or a shoebill or a flamingo, somebody that has their legs exposed like that. So that's the first thing about a bird. And I'll show I'll do a drawing about that. But then the other thing that's really important about a bird is the bird has way more vertebrae in its neck than we do. So some birds have almost double, if not even more than that inside their neck, especially birds like herons and things that have a very specific striking pose. So when you work with birds, they have ironically enough, they have a nice little egg shape for their body. But the majority of, like, you see this parakeet going to town, talking to his little buddy. The majority of that motion is the neck of the creature. So the neck has more vertebrae, so it allows to have that's kind of squash and stretch. That's where you want to put your action. So your action for your birds is always in the neck, and then obviously the wings as well. And I'll show a trick for that as well. Scooch this over here. Okay, so we have our little budgies looking around. So when I'm working with these guys, with birds, we'll take my brush back. You want to think about the fact that the bird has that that kind of egg shape, and then it's got that wonderful. These budgies obviously have that really flat face. So I'm working with the fact that it's got this, kind of the illusion of this kind of large bulbous, head coming forward. Has that little, the little nostril, and then the beak. And a general rule to follow is that on a parrot, parakeet, any bird that is not a carnivore, the edge of the beak will point at the eye. So I've got the edge of the beak pointing up towards that eye. And and you can hear one of my dogs in the background. And so you can see like overall the shape of this thing, you've got that egg shape for the body, and you've got that stretched out head. When you draw the wing, when the bird's kind of relaxed and it has its wings down, it's another egg shape, so another kind of oval shape. And then the flight feathers wrap around. And then for the tip of the wings, the pattern that I like to use is an overlapping pattern, kind of like that. I can do a better job than that. Hold on. So they overlap like that. So those are the real long kind of finger feathers. And then for the feet, you can see the little ankle coming out. Birds, this type of bird's foot, if it's flying right at you, if it's landing on you, their little feet looks like an X. Looks almost like a K. So you have the nails. Like if this is a bird like about to land on you, like it's about to land and grab on you. When they're in their side profile, so let's say I've got my egg shape. This is the body. Their leg is starting up here. And the part that we see is right here. So there's the ankle, there's the knee, there's the hip, and then you have that X pattern. Their big claws. But this part is always kind of hidden because of all the feathers that are underneath the bird's carriage. Like you can see right there on that video, you can see kind of an indication of the that kind of floof. There goes the Bork squad. They always have to put some accent on things, but you can see how like there's a volume to it. So obviously as you're drawing the bird and as the bird's moving around, you're going to see that volume change. There you can see little floofy pants. There we go. And you can see that the X foot, but that it gets hidden. Like all of this structure right here gets hidden up underneath the bird. Okay, so let me draw more birds. So we've got obviously the bird, happily, moving around and enjoying themselves. There was one where it was on a perch. So I'm going to start by drawing there's kind of that egg shape for the body. And this time I'm making the head a little more squash because I want it to be like, it's kind of relaxing. So I'm thinking of a pose where the bird it's on the perch, its back is towards me at a 3/4 angle. So it's kind of looking off. So its little buddy, so it's looking off the side. This is the eye, this is the location of the nose, and then the beak, and then the cheek. So when you're drawing the bird from the back, you can use an oval shape for the wing. But the idea is that, again, just like with the ears on a cat, it's not going to be parallel. So it's going to have a little bit of a tuck, almost like the cape coming down the back of the bird. And then you have two sets of flights. So these are the first set of wings, or feathers, sorry. And then you have the real long flight feathers. You can see it right there on that shot. But basically what I like to do is bring one out and then follow that line, bring it back a little bit, follow the line, bring it back a little bit, follow the line, bring it back. And I get that overall shape. So that's a little more of an Acme looking style of bird. On a budgie, it's going to be a little bit more long, but this works for most birds. And they always kind of cross their little very formal little birds. They always cross their little wings together. And then for the leg, remember it's kind of this one. He or she was holding on to that arched kind of rainbow perch. So I'm going to bring that ankle down a little bit to overemphasize that it's holding on, and then kind of overemphasize the size of that grip that's going on. And then the tail is on a little bit of an angle, so I'll bring that down. I'm just going to give it that same treatment as the flight feathers. I have my little budgie. If I'm using my brush pen, because budgies have that wonderful striping pattern, I'll increase the size of my brush and just give it a little bit of just some detail. That's what I love about the brush pens, that you can give a little bit more pressure, give a little bit more indication of that patterning. So if I do, so the one kind of freaky thing I love doing is showing the actual like skull of the bird. So if I've got a side view, so if I got a side view of a bird, they obviously have their bill, right? They have kind of like a little bit of a hook to that bill. Grab some water. So got that hook to the bill. They have that kind of the part for the for breathing for their nose. They have the underside of the bill, and their jaw actually comes all the way back here. So you can see, like on a budgie, obviously it looks like they have a little teeny tiny beak, but in reality they actually have a huge beak because they obviously have to crush seeds. And then you have their little skull and their large eye orbit. And the part that's really, really freaky is the neck. So remember, inside a budgie's neck, if they're relaxed, their neck is like this long. And they have, I don't even know how many vertebrae are in there. So like that's what's in there. And it's really, really, it's a really freaky looking contraption, but it lets the bird, you know, so if I have a shot where the bird, smaller one here, where it's really extended its neck out, because they can do that. There's its beak, and its skull, its big eye orbit, and its lower jaw. then obviously that curve allows for that stretching of the neck. And usually what happens, obviously, is you can give a little more tension to that stretch by kind of dipping in that line a little bit, whereas this one, you can make it a little bit more floofy because it's compressing that head going up and down. And you're going to see this today with Mrs. Van's birds. Hopefully the weather, I haven't checked the weather this morning. It looked okay in my neck of the woods. Mrs. Van is located in Johnstown, Ohio, which is south of where I'm located. So hopefully their weather is good because she has a beautiful facility for her birds. If she doesn't, if it's raining, we'll be in her garage, which is totally fine. We'll still be able to see the lovely animals. But I want to make sure to get her logged in here. So if as we wait for her to log in, because I want to make sure that she has access to that full screen, I could probably do some questions if folks like. See if we, all right, we'll wait for her. She'll probably come in right about 3 minutes. So Trey, if there's any, actually, you know what? I'll try and share this document. That's what I will do. Let's do it. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi. I'm not talking. I literally just turned on my microphone.
I just saw the microphone come on.
Do you have any advice for so one of the things that I as we've been doing the last couple animals, I've had a little bit of a hard time figuring out how to sort of fret in the head anatomy. Do you have any advice for dogs, cats, or birds, like how to construct their heads as you're doing these gestures?
Sure. So for dogs, cats, and horses, I like to use. So when I've got that that circle, let's say for the head and the body, one thing I like to use is a kite. So if I know my animal is I like to do that. Like that's helped me in the past because if I do, I can draw that kite on the side. And then that gives me a good indication of the eye and the nose. I mean, depending upon what the animal is, if it has a smaller like that. Like that anchor of using the kite shape really, really helps. And I learned that from workshops I had with Glenn too. So I'd highly recommend looking at Glenn's Coop for that particular technique, but it served me really well because I don't have to worry about it being a like nose, mouth, and all that. I just have to worry about it being a kite, moving that kite around, because the kite can come right at me. So the kite can be looking right at me. And that seems to really help anchor it. For birds, it's a little bit different. What I found with birds is that their bill will always give us the indication of which way they're facing. So I usually start with the bill. So like chickens, which ironically have really browny.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't know if it's the feedback in my.
Yeah, it keeps kind of cutting out a little bit.
Oh dear, sorry. So chickens and any kind of bird, they have that. They have a almost like a drum. So they've got, instead of, obviously we use a circle to kind of get the shape where it needs to go, but drawing a drum.
Guys, can you see me and hear me?
Oh, here we go. So I want to. Well, yes, Mrs. Mann, we can hear you. So we're gonna switch over. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and then, hi, Mrs. Mann, we can't see you just yet.
Can you guys see and hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you just yet.
You can't see me?
Nope.
Huh.
There we go.
Now can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Oh, and I see some screeches.
Okay, here's the problem though. It
Okay.
doesn't allow me to expand my screen.
I think we can, Trey, I think we can make the screen larger. Is that a possibility?
So we focus on her screen.
Yeah, like pin her screen really big.
Yeah, let's see. I wonder if she needs to be presenter or not to make her the focus.
Okay.
You want to try? You want me to try that and give her presenter and see if that?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Okay.
See.
Nope.
Okay, your presenter, but I don't know if it's gonna
I'm gonna
isolate.
hit iPad screen.
Okay.
Hold on. Everything on your screen, including notifications. Okay, hold on.
Sorry, Mrs. Mann. This is okay. Here we go. Sharing your screen.
It's still real small. And see, if I had control, I could zoom in on the birds. Otherwise, I don't know how well it's going to work with these
Okay.
birds today. See, that's as close as we're going to get.
Okay.
Whereas if
It's
You want an
probably,
iPad?
I'm
yeah.
sorry,
You want an iPad?
I am on an iPad.
Okay. I wonder
And
if
we've
there's
done this before using Zoom, and I'm able to, you know, zoom in and zoom out, but it's not even allowing me to do that.
right. That's tricky. Is there a plus feature in on your screen, like
Hey, I'm sorry, what?
a plus sign, like a zoom in, zoom out at all on your screen? I see one at
No.
the bottom. Oh,
In
okay.
fact, you guys are it says something about sharing your screen and it's just a green background. Now I have a small box up on the left where I can see four of you and myself included, but
Let's see here.
hold on. I don't want to stop my webcam. Mm-mm, mm-mm. So I'm not sure because we're not going to be able to. This is as close a view that I would be able to give you. And that's not real good, especially with some of the other birds. I
If you
wouldn't be
click
able to get this
talking,
close.
I wonder if it'll isolate your camera if you just click the little talking button instead of everyone's.
I just hit the talking.
Hmm.
Okay, let me try none too.
Okay.
There's all, talking, none. People can see you, you've hidden webcam. No.
Troubleshooting in live.
Try and look it up. Go to meeting.
Let's see. think the challenge is because it's sharing a screen, but we're trying to look at your webcam view. So
Could we not share the screen and just make her webcam really big?
yeah, let's try that again. So if you
Yeah.
unshare the screen,
Unshare it.
yeah.
Okay. Hmm, I'm not sure how we do that. Do you want me to start fresh? Let me go back into the link that you sent me.
Sure. Why not? Let's try that.
Because it has me down as the presenter.
Mhm.
Yes. So I think actually, Mrs. Van, if you click on the top right-hand corner, there's 3 green buttons. The one in the center that looks
Yes.
like a computer. Click that
Yes.
off, and maybe that'll make your yours large.
I have the microphone, I have an arrow, and I have a video. Those are the 3 green icons I have.
Yes. So the arrow. I want you to click on the arrow to turn it off. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So that makes now. There we go. So Trey, is there a way to make her picture the largest? Because that'll work just fine, Mrs. Van.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to focus on.
Maybe the best.
I mean, it's a little bigger now, but I don't see an isolation feature.
Yeah, and even me hitting on it is not doing anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I noticed on my computer, if I go to webcams and then click on view who's talking, it makes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that works. So for those of you watching, if you go up into the top, into your menu options to webcams, you can, oh, actually, you know what we could do? Let's see, view active cameras. If I turn my camera off, there we go. So if you want to, here's a really easy way to do it. If you go to webcams and toggle view active cameras and then turn off the video on your end, it'll make Mrs. Van's video nice and big.
So I'm noticing I'm in that mode, and
And you're still there.
you're just you're just a big black screen now.
Oh, because I'm talking. Yeah, that's okay. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that doesn't help. So what I'm gonna do, so Mrs. Van, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute myself, so that way your video feed is full and at full resolution. So we'll use the
Okay.
chat to communicate.
Okay, that sounds good.
So then, Steve, if you turn your webcam off, it'll isolate Mannon's. Yeah. Perfect.
Ta-da. Okay. All right. This is good. Now, if I can get him. Okay. Okay. Our only challenge is going to be it's not allowing me. Like if I was in Zoom or just using my iPad, it's not going to let me zoom in. So this is, I think, as good as it's going to get. Guys, the challenge may be when I go into other aviaries, because there's no red tail that's going to let me get within inches. I'm only, just so you know, an arm length away from Rusty. So to think that a red tail is going to sit there with this contraption an arm's length away from him is probably not going to happen. So we'll go with this right now, and then we're just going to have to punt and see what happens. Okay, so because here's as close as I can get, and then that's going to be a challenge. All right, so we're just gonna, I'm just gonna let you guys know. Here's the way I have it worked out. I've got 2 screeches. This is the red phase. We've got the gray phase. I'll move on to hopefully the Aflamato falcon. Then I'll go into the red-tailed hawk / turkey vulture enclosure, try to give you a view of one of each of those species. And then I will go into a peregrine falcon enclosure. Again, the challenge with this program or this app is not letting me zoom in. So the birds, the big birds, may not tolerate it. We're just going to have to do our best. If push comes to shove, if we need to, we can always back out of this, and I can always start a Zoom meeting that I share with Charlotte, and Charlotte can share it with you guys. It's entirely up to you, because in that way I could zoom in and out, but up to you. Okay, so really quickly, I figure we'll give you, and Charlotte, we're trying to read, and help me, Summer, make sure that we're reading any messages that are coming in. I figure I give you about maybe upwards of 10 minutes for each bird, but if you're done, you're done, and you want to move on to something else, that's fine. Just let me know. Okay, so I work with Charlotte quite a bit. And what we do at Ohio Nature Education is provide a home for non-releasable wild animals that we incorporate into environmental education programs. We have about 45 wild animals. Most of them are native to Ohio. Good, and I'm glad that the view looks good on your end. Awesome, good, good, good. And basically, we typically, for the pandemic, go to schools, libraries, garden clubs, fairs, weddings, birthday parties, and whatnot. And we teach people of all ages to appreciate nature and wildlife. So this is a full-grown eastern screech owl. This is the red phase. In a few minutes, I'll show you the gray phase. They are our most common species of owl in Ohio. These are full-grown. The reason that we have Rusty is Rusty was hit by a car, and so was Otis, and they're not able to fly well enough to catch their prey. Their prey would be large insects and small rodents. So a lot of our programming is convincing people that we need these species in order to basically survive. And we get into the challenges when we start showing them bats, snakes, spiders, possums, vultures, things like that. But I say my next tattoo is going to be across my forearm, and it's going to be "We need nature," because if I had $1 for every time I say it, I wouldn't have any financial problems. So anyway, we have 5 of these that we provide a home for. They all live in a large enclosure together. They are cavity nesters. So if you have the right habitat, like a wooded habitat, you could put up an eastern screech owl nesting box, and you might get lucky and have them show up. Sometimes squirrels end up in them. And then, you never know what life is going to deal you. But I was on one of the Facebook pages, and somebody said, "Look what showed up in my squirrel box." And it was a screech owl. So, hey, it all depends from what perspective you're coming from. Okay. So the color variation has nothing to do with genders. Okay. Like our male and female cardinal. In most of our birds of prey, in our hawks and owls, you are typically not going to differentiate male from female by looking at the plumage. What happens with screech owls is that whatever color they are born will help them determine what habitat they'll go and live in. So a red phase eastern screech owl would be great where there are pin oaks that keep their leaves on throughout the winter. And then or maybe where there's the reddish bark of some of our pine trees, whereas the gray would be great where there is beech, maple, forests and woods and whatnot. So, alrighty. And guys, you let me know when you're ready to move on to our next bird, which will be Otis. And guys, we know that adults, we hope, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes we run across kids that are much more wildlife savvy than adults, but we name them so we can tell one apart from the other. We want to make sure that people know that we don't think they're our pets. And what you're seeing on the top of the head are actually feather tufts. I know sometimes people call them ear tufts. I don't particularly care for that because it confuses people into thinking those are a hearing mechanism. He's getting ready to bait. Right back up. Ooh, ooh. Yeah. Make sure that you do it with this. Okay. All right. Some owls have it, some owls don't. Good job. Otis thought he was going somewhere. But it's a voluntary action for them to put this up and down. All it is, they're tufts. All it is feathering, and they use them for camouflaging. We think probably a little bit with communication, but their hearing mechanisms are actually ear slits on each side of their head. And they're actually asymmetrical because, you know, owls, we know that the nocturnal owls have an awesome sense of vision, but they have equally as good sense of hearing. And the reason for that is the asymmetrical hearing. So they're able to triangulate their prey. And you, again, let me know when you're ready to move on. Okay, let's move on to the next bird. Okay, good. All right, so this is Otis. And let me know. Well, why don't I move it over here so you see just a wee bit more of him? We'll see how he feels. Doesn't he look like a grump? Wow, dude. Of course, they were up all night, so, you know. All right, so this is Otis, and you can see Otis's injury. Okay, so look at his right wing. Okay, yeah, party owl is right. Yeah. Okay, we have a lot of nocturnal animals too. So the owls aren't usually a challenge to take to school and whatnot. It used to be that our flying squirrels, we might as well have put, you know, just a pelt in there as much as they would just lay there and sleep. We've had some recently that put on quite the show and whatnot. But so you can see Otis's injury, his right wing, okay, is not even approximating well, okay. You know, his left wing is right up against his body, okay, but that is the remnants of being hit by a car, so the bones didn't even heal properly. So obviously he couldn't fly well enough to catch his prey and whatnot. So he is with us. Here's what's really kind of cool is that they can blink both eyes together or independently, and he was just winking here. And again, let me know if you need me to move the camera to a different exposure for you. All right. So what's cool about owls, well, there's a lot of cool things about owls, but they have 3 eyelids. So they have an upper lid and a lower lid like you and I do. But coming from the inside corner out is called the third eyelid or the nictitating membrane. And that actually keeps the eye clean and moist. And if they're bringing prey up to their beaks, their faces, and the animal's not quite dead, that will protect their eyes. Now, here's something pretty cool. Well, over 250 different species of owls in the world. Okay, only half of them are truly nocturnal. Most of the other half are what we call crepuscular, which is active at dusk and dawn. And then we have, in Ohio, we get snowy owls that are winter visitors and whatnot. So yes, they have a great sense of vision. Obviously, if they're nocturnal, yes, they have an awesome sense of hearing. But like most birds, not all, most birds, they have next to nothing for a sense of smell. So it's kind of cool with the nictitating membrane, that third eyelid, and the poor sense of smell. It helps with a pretty cool adaptation for great horned owls. Great horned owls are the top predator of striped skunks. So as the owl is going in to capture the skunk, okay, hold on a second. All right, so as the owl is going in to catch the skunk obviously is going to spray him, okay? And the great horned owl is not going to care because he's not going to smell it as well. Okay, I don't know if you heard that. That's my neighbor. I was telling my interns here that that's what I hear at 5:30 every morning. This was Mellow. Okay, he just rubs it. Anyway, sorry about the editorial, guys. Okay, so the owl is gonna, I'm not gonna say he's not gonna smell some of the musk. Obviously he is. I said a poor sense, not no sense of smell. But it's really cool. If you and I were sprayed directly in the eyes with skunk musk, we would be blinded. Oh, good. We'll talk about that here too. All right. We would be blinded until we could clear away the musk. That third eyelid plays into that. So that owl, most likely, as he's going down, is going to pull that third eyelid over his eye. So Otis led me to the next thing I want to talk to you about with owls. Is one of the myths is that they turn their heads all the way around in a circle. They turn their heads 3/4 of the way around, 270 out of 360 degrees. And they're able to do that because our eyes can move up, down, side to side, all around and go cross. Their eyes are fixed in a bony socket. All right. So they have twice the vertebrae in their necks that we do, allowing them to do that 270 or 3/4 of the way around. That's really pretty cool. And like I said, we have 5 of these living together, and we have boxes for them should they choose to go in the boxes and whatnot. I told our interns here today, keep an eye on the Cooper's hawks. So we have Cooper's hawks here, and they're famous for Cooper's hawks are the sharp-shinned hawk are the accipiters. So they're the ones that come to our backyard bird feeders and take our birds. While Cooper's hawk would try to take out a screech owl. In fact, I've had Cooper's hawk try to get into our American kestrel cages and whatnot, and I found them sitting on some of the smaller bird aviaries, looking down as if saying, "Hey, what you doing in there?" So yeah. When it's time, I'm going to put the camera around. You guys stay here. I've got 2 fly swatters. At least you can protect your legs. So if I can get a little break, I'll take it. Okay, thank you, Otis. Are you guys ready to move on? Ready. Okay, here we go. All right, you two stay here with these guys. Now, let's see what we can do here. All right, now here's where, see guys, this is going to be the challenge. So bear with me for a minute, okay? In here is Minna, our Aplomado falcon. I'm training her, and I use food. So hopefully, but guys, it's going to be quick flashes. And unfortunately, if I try to go in there with her, she's not going to, I mean, she's just going to be all over the place. So, Summer, come here for a minute. Grab that end of the bench and let's pull it out of here. Okay. And if you need to, you guys can take that right over there to sit on. Keep going. There we go. Okay. All right. And bear with me. I'm going to try to, now she is used to having the tripod here. So bear with me for a minute. Okay. I'm going in to get her food and we'll see if we can get her up there. Now, she probably won't stay with us, but that's the best we can do with this setup. I'll be right back. Here you go. Oops. All right, guys. I'm back and I'm going to try to get her to the perch. Perch. Now she's talking, so hopefully she will cooperate. And a perch. Perch. And give her a minute. We'll see. Perch. All right. Bear with me. I'm going in. Hold on. Well, there you are. Oh, I know all about it. Yeah. Why don't you cooperate? And guys, I cannot see your screen, so just be aware. I'm just going to be in here and see if I can get you some shots. Perch. Perch. I'm hoping that you can hear me. This is an Appalachian falcon. This came from a falconer. They're not native to Ohio. She was raised in captivity at a falcon with a falconer and needed a home. So we provided it. These are native to the southwestern U.S., but they're endangered. So they've done some captive breeding programs. Come on. Perch. We're snooty today, aren't we? Perch. Good. Perch. 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 Summer, every once in a while, peek at the screen, please. Because I have no idea. Put it in. Well, just to see if there's any messages coming through. Perch. Charlotte, I can't see your screen. I have one of our interns, Summer, looking if you're sending me a message. unfortunately, with summer being there, Minna may not cooperate. So the way I'm going to leave it right now, I'm just going to give it another 5 more minutes. So Summer, you can go back over and sit, and then we'll take it from there. Birch. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. So I'll give it just a couple more minutes. If she's hiding in the corner, she may not come out. All right. I'm going to try it again from the outside. All right. All right. Good. Good. Perch. Good. All right, there we go. That's the typical routine to take it and take it to the either her vertical perch or the top of the box. And just so you know, and I've had to learn this too, because animals are bred in captivity, doesn't make them any less wild. That was the problem with me getting birds from falconers that were bred in captivity. You assume, oh, well, they've been in captivity all their lives. They'll be easy to work with. No, they're not. This is a member of the falcon family, but we were talking about the accipiters earlier. Accipiters are hyperactive birds. In fact, very few people keep them for education. She may be a member of the falcon family, but she acts very much like a member of the accipiter family. We weren't even able to step outside when we first got her. She would just bam, 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 fly back and forth, back and forth. Now, except for when she's on camera today, normally I can go in there and at that vertical perch she's on now, I can ask her to come and perch and she'll eat from the tongs. So we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. And unfortunately, when you are training these guys, you don't rush it. If you have something negative happen, it takes forever to work your way back. Perch. 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 And I'm always telling people, while we don't treat these guys as pets, just like your pets have different personalities, so do these guys. All right, and I'm back at the screen, so if you guys are ready to move on, let me know. If you want to stick around for a few more minutes. Here she comes. Good. Now we're going to work. Perch. Rocky. Rocky. Good. Okay, I didn't get that. I'm noticing, just so you know, your messages don't stay on the screen real long. But, so tell me that again. You're noticing. All right, let me try another piece. Perch. All right, guys, I'm going to move on unless you tell me differently. Let's see. Sounds good to move on. Okay, I'm going into the red tail hawk turkey vulture enclosure. I will be right back. Okay. All right. You're traveling with me. Why don't one of you come and open the door for me, please? All right, this is our kestrels. Go ahead. All right, I'll lock you out. Don't lock me in. Bear with me, guys. Okay. Thank you. All right, hold on a second. I got to get ahead of this. Hi, guys. How are you? Oh, Teddy. Teddy, Teddy, Teddy. Hi. Hi, Teddy. Hi, Rocky. All righty. That's Rocky. That's Teddy. And Teddy's probably not going to tolerate too much, so we're going to go right over to Rocky. Hi. Yeah, I know. Hi, Rocky. Hi. Hi. All right, so Rocky is one of 4 red-tailed hawks that we have. I didn't name him. The rehab center that had him as a rehab bird named him. Okay. Are you hungry or not? We have to watch his vision. He is a bird that is non-releasable because of West Nile virus. Rocky. And his pupils are always the size they are now, so they never constrict. And West Nile virus is a neurological disease. It would be a lot like encephalitis. And I know Charlotte has met Ibu, our great horned owl. And Ibu is with us because he has the remnants of West Nile virus. His is a paralyzed wing. So Rocky, his pupils do not constrict. So his vision is not what it should be. So obviously he couldn't be released because he wasn't able to hunt live prey. So we've been working quite a bit with him. He's now stepping up on the glove, but he's normally on another perch to do this. So I'm not sure what the scoop is, but we'll go with it. Not hungry? I notice he's checking out the tripod, so hopefully he's not going to use that as a perch. That would not be fun. All right, and this is a very common hawk, especially in the Midwest. I'm watching Teddy and one of the vultures over here. There might be some politics going on. But anyway, this is, we see these along roadways. They're in the cities. They are in, obviously, rural and suburbs and whatnot. And these are the ones that you see with that big white chest, you know, sitting on, they are able to perch on light posts along freeways. They hunt in those grassy areas between the roadways for snakes and rodents. Unfortunately, that's what gets them hit by cars. Oh, nice stretch. There we go. And guys, bear with us. Yeah, that is politics. Bear with us with the feces. When I first started this organization 23 years ago, there's some things you just aren't going to think about, right? Well, some of these birds lift up their tails and do projectile poop. So we haven't been in here to power wash recently. Whereas owls do a nice little curtsy. We appreciate that. And just go right below them. Oh, okay. What's the matter with you, Teddy? Did you get told by Igor that you weren't going on the big purge? Teddy came to us from another raptor center, Medina Raptor Center in Medina County. Rocky came to us from Glen Helen Raptor Center, okay, over in the Yellow Springs area. And he's going to do really well. Teddy goes out and does programs, but he's not real crazy about getting in and out of the perch, you know, or the crate and whatnot. So this is a sign of relaxation on Rocky's part, that he's preening and ruffling his feathers the whole bit. This is a good sign of relaxation. Teddy does go out to do programs. And I think he's probably going to head to his box right there, his nest box, which is where he spends a lot of his time. But like I said, he's not real comfortable with it. Oh, see, he wants up in the box where Rocky is. There we go. That's that. All right, so these would be, they would eat mice, rats, rabbits, squirrels, snakes. They're not typically made like the exhibitors, you know, to catch our backyard birds. Now, if there's a young, inexperienced fledgling or a sick or injured bird, sure. Remember, wild animals are opportunistic, right? And let me know when to move on to the vulture. We've got a couple in here. We'll see. And I know it's 11:48. I'm willing to go over since we had some technical difficulties. So after we move to the turkey vulture cage, I'd like to move on to the peregrine falcon enclosure. So we'll hang out with Rocky for a couple more minutes. I'll try to see if I can get Igor to sit still, Igor or Ichabod, so you can get a view of them. And then I will go into the peregrine enclosure. We have two peregrines now, but one is a lot more tolerant. And Charlotte, you met Perry shortly after we got him, and he looks so much better now. What's up with you? Are you having arguments? Politics, guys, politics. If you've been lucky enough or not to raise hormonal teenagers, I hate to tell you, but it's not a whole lot different during the spring around here. So the great horns start getting hormonal about December or January. So we have to contend with that. Red tails start, and here's what happens is, you know, they all, you know, we're interlopers, so they're not real crazy a lot of times about us moving in. But it's not only that, they want the enclosure to themselves. That's why right now there's only 2 red tails and 2 turkey vultures in here. I've moved Apollo and Bella, our other red tails, into another enclosure because they were picking on everybody. Our one 16-year-old peregrine falcon, they lay eggs. Doesn't matter if they mate or not. They're just not fertile. Laid eggs, and just would not even let us into the enclosure. So we moved her. We switched her out for our barn owl, and just the change of scenery got her calmed down. So we're happy. So about the time we get everybody quieted down, it all starts again. A lot of fun. At least with teenagers, you can put them on a timeout or ground them. There's no reasoning with hormonal animals. Fun times, though. Let me see if I can get a beat. Are we not hungry? Oops. Nope. He says this is not our usual setup. Okay. All righty. All right, Charlotte, just let me know if you are ready to move on to the vultures or not. Okay, here we go. Okay, calm yourselves. It's all right. Calm down. Quit with the politics. Now, if I get too close to Igor, when that lighting's not real good, she will just fly anyway, which she might do, which that wouldn't be a bad thing. Maybe I can get her over into the corner. Good job. Come on. Go to the other perch. That wasn't pretty. Hold on a second. It's all right. Good. And again, I apologize that we can't zoom in. That's the problem. I've not ever used this app before. At least with some of the other apps, we can zoom in, which is nice because some of the birds aren't going to let you get close to them. All right, so remember earlier we talked about birds having a poor sense of smell. This is an exception to the rule. Like I said, guys, I could try to move the tripod up, but that's exactly what she'll do. Ooh, that would be better. That would be better. So vultures, while we lump them in, sorry, with, let me put some of this stuff down, with birds of prey, turkey vultures don't really kill. They are carrion eaters. Now, black vultures have been known to kill. Usually it's when livestock are given birth. They gather in large groups and it's not good. But these guys clean up our roads. And turkey vultures do find their prey with their sense of smell. Black vultures fly above them and use their vision. So if they see a group of turkey vultures gathering around, they will, oh, turkey vultures may have some lunch. I have had Igor with me since 2001, and we have no idea how old she is, and that's true with a lot of our birds. If birds go into a wildlife rehabilitation center with adult feathers, we have no way of aging them. Now we can tell red tails, and there's certain birds. Actually, you can blacklight some of the birds, and you can tell by their feathers how old they are, up, I believe, to like 3 years old. After that, it's a guessing game. But I've actually had Igor 19 years. She's not one of my fans, and that's all good. It's all right. They don't all have to love me. I'm still going to provide them with a home. And she was near starvation. She has an eye injury and a wing injury that didn't fuse correctly. So she'd been trying to sustain herself on earthworms. And how do I know that? Well, the defense mechanism of vultures, and I noticed that she was doing this earlier, is to stomp their little feet. And she was doing that to Teddy earlier. So she was giving him a warning. And then if you don't heed that warning, they vomit. So she, when I was catching her, she literally vomited a whole bunch of earthworms. So a bird this big trying to sustain herself on earthworms, oh, she was a hot mess. Unfortunately, that injury, both the eye injury and the wing injury, are not able to be repaired. Now, I thought, boy, she's getting up there in years, right? And then I found on Facebook One of my peers said, yeah, I've had mine for 31 years. It's like, all right. And you guys let me know when we're ready to move on. And then we're going to go in with Perry, the Peregrine Falcon. And normally I can get him to eat off my glove, but we'll just go ahead and feed him with the tongs, but we can get you at least hopefully close to him. So you guys just let me know. Say that again. I just saw a message popping up, but it went and came and went. So just let me know if you're ready to move. All right, let's move on to Perry. That's what we're doing. All right. Give me a minute while we travel. We're going to pass by Ripley, our crow. What's up, Ripley? He doesn't like anything new. So me going by, what's the matter with this tripod? Hey, Ripley. Hola, hola, hola. Yes, no, maybe so. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, guys. We'll take a little breather here for a second. He's a chow hound. Oh, you'll eat though, won't you? Uh-huh. And this guy was illegally kept as a pet. He actually had an injury, and if the person that found him would have taken him into a rehab center, he might have been able to be rehabilitated and put back out in the wild. But they kept him for years, and then he ended up in Virginia at an education center like ours, and it wasn't working out for us, so we gave him a home. But he will say, hola, hola, hola. Yeah. All right. We're going into Ripley's cage. All right. Give me a minute to get in the hallway. It's a narrow one.
Okay, everyone. So I texted Mrs. Van. There's some kind of internet issues that we're having. So I'm gonna turn my camera back on. Hello. And I got so I'm using my big board. I got the crow, and now I forget his name. Oh, there's Perry.
Okay. Can you guys see me now?
We can. Yeah, we can. We have like another 5 minutes, if that's okay.
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 Yes, absolutely. Okay. I'm going to move closer because, guys, this is a little chow hound. Hold on. Summer, there's 2 cups on the back cage. Put a little bit of water in it. Bring it to me, please. Right, guys. I hope you guys can see this. This is Perry, the Peregrine Falcon. See that wing injury? But he is such a cool bird. And guys, he will very readily sit on our glove and eat. And he came to us from the state of Michigan, Wildside Rehab. And we're not really sure what happened, whether he collided with a building, a tree, or hit by a car. All right, let me get it in there, okay? All right, and so the peregrine is the one that flies above their prey and dives at 175 to 200 miles an hour. And they literally will hit a duck, a pigeon so hard that it actually, what they do is they pull their wings back. It's called in a stoop, and it looks like a bullet. They look like a bullet. Look at him, and he's following me. He's following the food. You are a trip. You're a beautiful trip. We've only had him since March. Over here, over here. Over here, come. Right, he's getting a little bit freaked out. Sorry. Where'd you get the water? Oh, I meant out of the water thing. No, dispenser. I didn't know it was for you. Sorry. It's all right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Oh boy, we're having a good time today. Okay, Perry, come here. Good. Good. Oh, you're a beast.
So Mrs. Van, I wanted to thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really, really appreciate it. We love seeing all of your birds and learning about them.
Oh, thank you. No problem, guys. I wish it would have gone a little bit more smoothly and whatnot, but I'd be willing to do this again if you'd allow me to use Zoom, so that I
Sure.
want you guys to have success. We're not going to go past this enclosure. Let me show you something really quickly. If you go over there, there are 2 red tails, 4 turtles, and 3 great horned owls in that building. Unfortunately, that's as far as my internet goes, because we have, like I said, 45 wild animals. There's other enclosures here and whatnot. And I want to, you know, have you have an awesome opportunity. So I would be willing to donate another hour session, but let's use Zoom. That way, if with Minna, I could zoom the camera right in, even through the wire, and you guys would have an awesome opportunity. So please take me up on this. It's not a hardship for me to step outside my backyard and set up my iPad on a tripod. Okay, so consider it. Give me a date, and let's go ahead and do this. So, all
Absolutely.
right.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Van. We really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. No problem. All right.
So thank you. And
Are
I'm
we
going to turn
ready to?
yeah, I'm gonna turn my
Okay.
camera back on, and we're gonna if people have some questions for the workshop we did a little earlier, anything we did now. But Mrs. Van, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
No problem, guys. And you can shut me off from your end, or I can just turn off my iPad. But guys, take me up on that offer, okay?
Okay, we will.
Have a
Thank you
great
so much.
weekend, guys.
Thank you, Mrs.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Van. Bye-bye. So I'm back on if anybody has some questions. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks, Steve. I'm really happy you all were able to join us today. Oh, you have cats, Jake. That's awesome. See, I don't have any cats. I just have 3 dogs. So I have a rescue from the Franklin County Humane Society, and then we have 2 Yorkies. So they're the Bork Squad. So we used to have a bird, and I miss having a bird. But if anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to turn your camera on and ask away or ask in the chat. And Steve, I noticed you had a question about the differences on the birds, and obviously these the larger birds, it is a little more difficult. They kind of have, the big birds have that ability to really stretch out their legs. If you want to see a really funny picture, if you search for a baby owl sleeping face down, you'll see how long their legs are. It'll be a little startling when you first see the picture, but baby owls, for some reason, a lot of them just sleep kind of pancakes down, and you can see how long their legs are. But a lot of times, so for birds, so what I like to do is like birds that eat more seed or grass or type of vegetarian type diet, I keep their ankles tucked up really close to their body and keep their bodies pretty round. For birds of prey, like we were selling or like we were seeing, they really extending, like making the legs, extending out that the calf, so that real long, that's that real that long part of the leg that we see, and then the building the chest cavity so that the legs kind of come up into the body, and then their heads are very triangular, so obviously they can have that really good binocular vision to be able to see their you know, whatever they're diving towards, like Mrs. Van talked about with Perry, or you know, what they kind of have to triangulate to be able to get. But that wedge shape, the bill looks very broad in the side profile and very thin in the front profile.
Do you have any particularly good reference books or you know for animal anatomy? What are your favorites?
My favorite right now is let me put it in the chat box. It's this Sibley book, the new one. So this book, I really like this book because it's written by somebody who is an artist and a naturalist. And Sibley's done all these different types of bird guidebooks, but more for people who observe birds. The drawings and then the way the anatomy that he chose is really, really nice. And then any of Glenn Vilppu's books. Get his books out. But, so Glenn Vilppu has, I think they're his these are his online drawing classes, but I was really lucky to have a bunch of different artists with and those are they're just fabulous, fabulous reference books for how to it's similar to that idea of the ball and then the neck and the body volume, a little more modified, but I learned a lot from him.
Yes, I have
That's
it.
what I like.
This is happening on there.
Yeah,
This is
I'll find it.
it. Okay.
Well, this is an Amazon link, but don't buy from Amazon. Buy from your local your local companies. But I really like the Goldfinger Animal Anatomy for Artists. I think that one's a real nice one. It's a good like a good companion to Glenn Vilppu's. And then there's another one. It's called like the Atlas of Animal Anatomy. That's another nice one. I forget the bad me. I forgot the author's name. I definitely would recommend that one.
Is there what's the best way to follow and connect with you after this, Charlotte?
Thank you. So the best way to connect with me is over Instagram. My handle on Instagram is my last name, so it's B as in boy, ELL. Actually, I should just type it in there's a chat. Spelling it out. There we go. That's one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Another way is just through email. My school email is where I get the most frequent checking of email, so I'd recommend that as well. But if you have, I posted one drawing of Otis to Instagram as we were doing it. It's my daily goal is to post. I've been posting a daily animal drawing to Instagram since 2013. So that's been my daily challenge to myself. Oh no.
Oh,
Cool. Well, if there's any other questions, feel free to shoot them out or